Hi, welcome to the session. We're going to discuss computer properties and watchers in Vue.js. We can use JavaScript expressions in text interpolation. So there will have a chance of using complicated expressions in data binding. It will lead to making our templates hard to maintain. In those cases, we can use computer properties. Let's check how to use computer properties. Create a data property called title. Create a paragraph and bind the title by converting it to lowercase and replace all spaces with a hyphen. Run it on the browser. Yes, working. Let's create input and bind the title. Check it on the browser. Yes, working. Here you can see the logic we implemented on the title is a bit annoying and it making the template hard to maintain. So let's create a computer property to tackle that. Set this to slug. Create a computer property called slug. Move the logic here. Let's check it. Yes, working perfectly. Computer properties are reactive. It will update whenever the dependent properties change. Then what happens when we use non-reactive data in computer properties? The answer is it will never update. Let's check it. Create a computer property called datetime. Set its value to date that converted to a localized string. Create a paragraph and bind the datetime. Run it on the browser. Yes, working. Here you can see there is no reactive data property we using in datetime. That means this property never going to be updated. To tackle that, we can use reactive data in datetime property. Let's do it. Create a data called date. Use it in datetime. Run it. Yes, working. Let's update the date. Yes, the computer property datetime also updating according to that. Let's update the date in each second and make it live by adding few more lines of code. Create a method called initAutoUpdateDate and update the date in each second using setInterval. Now it won't start to run because the method initAutoUpdateDate is just created. We didn't invoke it yet, so we can invoke it in mounted. Let's check it now. Yes, it's working. Computer caching versus methods. We can use methods also to reduce complex logic implementing in templates. Let's try to do it with methods. Create a data called title. Create a paragraph and bind the title by converting it to lowercase and replace all spaces into the hyphen. Create input and bind the title. Run it. Yes, working. We can move this complex logic into a method. Create a method called slug and return it. Run it on the browser. Yes, working. You can see the methods are working fine. Then why we need to use computed properties? Computed properties are cached. It updates only when its dependencies found changes. The methods need to be executed to calculate the result each time when we call it. Let's see it in action. Create some data called isVisible and text and set the isVisible value to true. Create a computed property called capitalized with computed and return the text by converting it into uppercase. Create a method called capitalized with method for the same. Create a division and add VIF directive with isVisible as the condition. Create paragraphs and bind computed property and methods. Please note the method should be invoked. Add console log in computed and method. Run it on the browser. Yes, working both. Let's check the console. Here you can see the logs of initial rendering. Let's toggle the division. Here you can see the method is executing each time we toggle the division. But computed property executed only at the initial time. In fact, methods needs to be executed every time we call it. But computed properties are cached and only update when its reactive dependencies change. The computed caching is very helpful. Let's imagine we have a huge computation in a computed property. If there is no caching, it will need to do the repeating and unwanted computations every time. But in some cases, we will need the latest results without caching. There we can use methods. Computed setter. By default, computed properties are getter only. But we can provide setter as well. Let's check how to do that. Create some data called first name and last name. Create a computed property. Add a method called get and return the full name by combining the first name and last names. Add a method called set and accept the full name as the argument. Split the name and set it to first name and last name. Create two paragraphs and bind the first name and last name. Create a strong element and bind the full name. Run it on the browser. Let's check it with the console. Try to update the first and last names. Yes, it updated and reflected the changes in full name. Let's try to update the full name. Yes, first and last names are updated and reflected the change in full name. Watches. View provides watches to watch particular data and perform operations according to the changes. It can be used for asynchronous or expensive operations. Let's check how to use watches. Create some data called isChecking and decision and set isChecking value to false. Create a method called check and update isChecking to true. Create the mounted hook and call check method. Create watcher for isChecking and fetch yes/no API response. Convert the response to JSON and set the decision image to decision. Set isChecking to false. We don't want to work it if it's not in checking state, so we can return it. Create a paragraph and add checking. Only have to show this if it is in checking state. Create another paragraph in else block with question. Create an image element and bind the decision. Set a width. We only have to render this if checking is completed. Create a button and bind check method on click event. Let's run it on the browser. Yes, working. Try to check again. Yes, working perfectly. Watched properties. Watched properties are like computed properties. We can create a watcher and do computation with the changes and assign the result to a property. Let's see it in action. Create some properties, title and slug. Create input and bind the title. Create a paragraph and bind the slug. Create a watcher for the title and update the slug with title that converts to lowercase and replace the spaces into hyphens. Let's run it on the browser. Yes, working. Thanks for watching this session. We hope this session helpful for you to understand more about computed properties and watchers in Vue.js. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more tutorials. See you in the next session.